Greetings, greetings, greetings. Today is Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. And in my part of the world, I've noticed that life has gone back to the exact same way it was prior to the lockdown. And yeah, you see some people still wearing their masks here and there. Quite a few people still wear masks, I'll say that. But there's parties and there's cruise ships and there's sports gatherings, college and professional. There's everybody's back to work and for the most part, and people are at the parks and roller skating and just all kind of, closeness. Not even the 6 feet. I love the 6 feet. I still think that's a great idea. But that being said, for someone like me who doesn't, I don't watch general media outlets because most of it is fear-based and really negative and draining, energy draining. So I don't watch it, but I still need to be aware. So every now and again, I read a bit of the New York Times, and I found this article quite interesting today. So the New York Times article title is Good Morning, Why Haven't COVID Cases Started Rising Again in the United States? And the author is David Leonard. Again, this is April 6th, 2022. A new mystery. Don't you love the headline? A new mystery. Is it a mystery? For real? Yeah. To many people's surprise, including mine, new COVID-19 cases in the United States have not begun to rise. Over the past 2 weeks, they have held roughly steady, falling about 1%, even as the highly contagious BA2 subvariant of Omicron has become the dominant form of COVID in the United States. Across much of Europe, by contrast, cases surged last month after BA2 began spreading there, and many experts expected a similar pattern here. That hasn't happened. It has not taken off. Michael Osterholm, a University of Minnesota epidemiologist, told me. What's going on? Today's newsletter looks at 4 possible explanations. 1, more immunity. Even though the United States has a lower vaccination rate than Western Europe, this country may still have built up more immunity thanks to our politically polarized response to the virus. Interesting. In liberal parts of the United States, vaccination rates can be even higher than in Europe. In conservative communities, many Americans have been so dismissive of COVID that they have long been living almost normally. As a result, the virus has already swept through these communities, conferring at least some immunity on many people. The laissez-faire approach has had horrible downsides. COVID death rates have been much higher in counties that voted for Donald Trump. Everything. Oh, God. Than those that voted for Joe Biden. COVID don't care about American politics. I swear, sometimes. Anyway. But for people who survived a prior COVID infection, it does confer some immune protection, especially if it was recent. Most of Europe has been pretty COVID averse. William Hanage, a Harvard epidemiologist said on a recent episode of the In the Bubble podcast, whereas parts of the United States have been quite COVID curious. COVID curious? All these writers, oh my God. Hanan said that he still expected United States caseloads to rise soon. Ha 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 ha. Here they go. But he added, I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as Europe. It's interesting to me that, and this is a reader's pause, obviously, but it's so interesting to me that the United States fought what was the war that we fought to get free from Britain? Free, I'm doing the air quotation marks. Anyway, but it's the connection to Europe has never been severed. Ever. It's just like Europe and America, Europe and America, Europe and America. Meanwhile, in other places in the world, there are COVID rates that should be looked at because they do affect the world. This is why I don't get into these media outlets because it's just... But anyway, I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as Europe. If that's correct, a preview is already visible in the Northeast where cases have been rising lately, but not as steeply as in Europe. One possible reason there are not as many Americans vulnerable to infection. The earlier version of the Omicron variant seems to have infected about 45% of Americans, according to Andy Slavitt, a former COVID advisor in the Biden White House. That share appears to be higher than Europe's. Fewer tests, the shift toward at-home testing. I'm not going to read too much more of this article. Just wait. Even if high levels of immunity have kept cases from rising so far, the effect may not be permanent. Another mystery. Let's read this part 4 here. Another mystery. Throughout the pandemic, Osterholm, the Minnesota that word is so hard. Epidemiologist, I got it. Epidemiologist has lamented that many scientists, journalists, and lay people exaggerate how much we actually know about COVID. His favorite example, the Alpha variant swept through Michigan and Minnesota last year and then largely died out without causing case increases in other parts of the United States. Another example, BA2 has recently become the dominant variant in India, South Africa, and some other countries. What they don't do is talk about how Africa did so well without any interference from the West. Now there's interference from the West, and we'll see how the numbers may or may not change. But prior to interference from the West, the continent of Africa did quite well without getting sick. For whatever reason, I'm not a scientist. I don't pretend to know. But there's something different going on. Anywho, the rest of the article is just about the mysteries and to keep being afraid and get the vaccination and get all the boosters. And Pfizer is a sponsor of the article. And yeah, so I'm going to post a question because I'm curious to know, what's it like in your part of the world? Like, what's going on as far as you can see when it comes to COVID? I really would like to hear from you. Until the next episode. 1. I have gotten a lot of comments about the uniqueness of my voice, my podcast, the topics of choice, and I'm grateful for the recognition, but I also know that We all have unique voices, unique perspectives that need to be heard. And you can do the same thing I'm doing. Do your podcast your way. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And they literally have everything you need to make it all in one place. Anchor has the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, your laptop, or any device that you have. When you're hosting Anchor, you can distribute your podcast to platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and there's so many. It's everything you need to make a podcast. And best of all, it's free. Free 99. So just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Again, you can download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. See you in the podcast world. 1.